Good afternoon and welcome back to Q News and another of our fantastic RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under Season 2 interviews. I have the best and the worst job. I get to talk to all the amazing queens from RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under. However, I get to talk to them when they've been booted off the show and had to sashay away. It is interview number 3 today, and we are talking to the one and only, the lovely Miss Pomara Fifth. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hello, darling. Now, the one thing I do have to say about your name, the most consistently mispronounced name on the show. I swear I've heard everyone say it wrong.
I know. I love it. I love it. There's so much it's a good conversation starter, you know.
Yeah,
But
I've heard Pomara, Pomara.
well, just think of it. It's like Tamara, but less slutty.
Beautiful. Well, Pomara, it has been a pleasure to see you on the show. I've really loved watching season 2 so far already. Lots of challenges, lots of big challenges, some challenges that I didn't really like in the first 2. I really loved the third one. Coming into the show, what was the biggest challenge just personally for you competing on this season?
I didn't really go in with the sort of mindset of really, oh God, you know, I'm scared to do this kind of thing. I think going into Drag Race prior to that, I had only ever really seen 2 seasons, I think, ever of Drag Race. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't really know. I wasn't really an avid watcher of Drag Race. So I think my main goals really going into the show was sort of, you know, do your best. And also I just wanted to sort of get my positive message out there and just share the love and light with people, and that was really it. I didn't really try to put too much pressure on myself, but that was easily said than done.
It's absolutely, you're on a TV show, and the nerves can start to kick in. It was interesting, I think, watching the first season. There was a lot of like confidence I felt from these queens, and season 2, I feel like there's this edge, there's this bundle of, maybe is it nerves, is it anticipation, is it something that we're trying to live up to the last season that is really raw and genuine that I really like. Were you feeling that kind of that nervousness, that I suppose the pressure of being the second season?
Not at all. I think you know, there was that pressure to sort of do better than the first season, I guess, you know, just for the not trying to disregard anything that they did on the first season, because I was such an advocate for the first season, because I think, you know, you try and film a show during a pandemic, you try and do that in a different country, you know, it's hard. And everyone did so well on the first season. I just think it was more so the fan base that was sort of looking with really close magnifier. So there was that added pressure, but I think going into it, there wasn't really nervousness in the room. We're all sort of just dickheads doing our own thing, you know, really just taking it in and enjoying every moment, you know. I think, yeah, it was very just like, I think almost a bit blasé. I definitely think I was the most blasé out of all of them, because I had really no knowledge of what was to come. And I was sort of just going, oh, okay, we're doing this now. Yeah, right, cool, all right. You know, that was sort of my mentality. But I think by the third week, you know, we're there for a lot longer than what you can see on camera. And not just during the days filming, but we're there, you know, in total, you know, a lot longer than what you see, what you expect. And, you know, I think by that point I was getting a bit homesick, and I like going back to that whole not watching drag race thing, you know, going into it sort of it was sort of like a blessing and a curse, you know, almost going, you know, I don't know what's coming. So I was feeling slightly a bit like a fish out of water, and sort of like always behind the 8 ball in that aspect. And so I was then starting to get in my own head. So I think that's really what you get to see in episode 3, sorry, is, you know, me sort of realizing I'm getting in my own head and I'm getting a bit homesick, and, you know, it was all just coming out.
Yeah, well, there's a bit of a, I suppose, fish out of water again experience for you in that challenge. And, there was the discussion about who was paired with who and why. And you and Beverley landed in the same pairing, which I actually thought was interesting. You were the only two queens in the room that were left that actually had the same exact same track record on the show so far. You're the only two queens that have been safe. So I thought that was an interesting pairing. And I suppose how much of what we saw was the edit, and how much were you two, clashing or not getting along or butting heads?
Look, there was, I think, initially when we were paired, it was a very quick pairing. So what you sort of see is really how it was. It was just very quick and very spur of the moment. Like I said, it's a high pressured situation. You don't really get time to sort of think too much unless you're me trying to decide what's in someone's underwear. But yeah, you don't really get much time, and it's sort of just like, oh, okay, shit, like we'll just do this and this. And I think Molly, kind of panicked in that moment and just went, oh, we'll just put them together. And I don't think it came from a place of like, strategy or anything like that, but she's also not stupid. She wouldn't have put, strong people together. Like, I don't think she would have put, there was no way that she would have put me and Spanky together, or me and Hannah, or me and Minnie, I think if she did, wouldn't be, I don't think I would have ended up in the bottom two. But again, it is what it is. We dealt with what we got, and I was like, all right, cool, we got Beverley. And then I didn't realize, sort of how Beverley's lack of experience in comedy. So there was that, and Beverley was very determined, almost, and
we forget sometimes that with the confidence that this girl has, she's fucking 21. She's a baby, and she really has that I am unstoppable, I'm absolutely determined confidence. And you forget that behind all that, she is only a baby, and she's only been doing it for so long.
Yeah. And so, going back, and we'll, coming up with this whole thing, and I kept saying to her, like, look, I'm not trying to take away anything from you, but I have more experience in this field, and I think that's where the butting of heads were. And I was trying to really direct her and steer her to a place. And, in that moment, I think she thought that I was trying to undermine her drag and how long she'd been doing it. And which wasn't the case. It was just sort of me trying to be like, look, if we were here talking about whip cracking and pyrotechnics and, all that sort of stuff, absolutely, I'd be learning from you. I want to know your expertise, and I don't think comedy is your expertise. So I was just trying to guide her into the right ways. And so there was a lot of butting of heads, and I gave up, I guess, which was a stupid thing for me to do, and just went, fine, do it how you want. Yeah.
Now here you are.
And here I am talking to you.
Look, we live and we learn, and I suppose that's one of the things I like about this season is there is such a dynamic of people that they're talking and learning in various amounts of experience and in various topics, and the thing that came up in this episode as well. Now, I know you weren't a part of it on screen, but I was curious. There was a conversation that took place, and it was with Queen Kong, and Queen Kong came over to have the chat with Hannah Conda, and Molly was over there, and also Minnie were there. Now, you obviously weren't part of that, but were you, I suppose, privy to that conversation about racism and its place in Australia? And did that, I suppose, flow out into more of the work that we didn't see and your involvement in that?
No, unfortunately, I wasn't part of that conversation. But I have had this conversation with Hannah, out of Drag Race. And, Hannah, I think it was, although it didn't need to be aired on Drag Race, it also did, if that makes sense. It was not a conversation that really should have happened, but it was also a conversation that needed to happen. Um, and I think, we throw around the word racism so fluently now that, it's so easy to call someone a racist, and I think we really need to strip that back and really realize what we're actually calling people, and, what that word actually really means, and really taking and shedding the light on real racism, because it's still out there and it's prevalent. And I don't think that Hannah is that at all. Yes, she came out in, she'd done what she'd done in her past, which was dress up in Asian themed clothing. And then since then was labeled a racist, which really, because a lot of people weren't there for the whole, designing of the show. I think we really need to look at the fact that it was a show trying to, you know, embrace the Asian culture. And the producer of the show, I know, really loved everything about that culture. And there was multiple shows about that, multiple different shows over the years on the scene that would embrace that culture and different types of culture. And I think it was coming from a place of more cultural appreciation than it was, appropriation. But it's not for me to really decide or comment on. Really, it's I guess the public have made up their mind, and that's, I guess, the hard thing about being in the public eye is that you can't step a foot wrong, otherwise everyone will come down and start tearing you down. Then you feel like you have to open up this whole can of worms on a live TV show. But Hannah, and not just Hannah, there are multiple queens that I know, even the ones that aren't on Drag Race, have done so much for multiple different communities and charities, and have worked alongside some fantastic people in the past. And a lot of that you don't get to see, which is unfortunate. You only get to see the bad stuff, which sucks. And I think that's the case with everything. You don't get to see the great stuff all the time, and the stuff that people are doing. The stuff that's only ever shown or talked about is the bad stuff, which really, if you try and compare that to all the good that people have done, and especially Hannah has done a lot of good and worked with a lot of organizations and tried to shed light on so many different organizations and fundraisers and charities and events. When you compare that to that, it's minuscule. The bad stuff is minuscule. So, but it's a conversation I think that was great to have regardless. It's such a topic, especially in our scene. It's such a topic, and it's I don't think a topic that's ever really going to go away as well, because it happens all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, racism was a prevalent topic that came up after the last season, and I think people had their eyes on that coming into this. And what made it air, I don't think you would have seen it yet, but what made it air, that conversation with Hannah and Queen, was a conversation that I really liked listening to. And I liked the fact that it was such a dialogue, and I love the way that Queen Kong really held that conversation, guided it, listened, and what took place there between Queen and Hannah. And that was their conversation to have, and I just appreciated watching it. And I hope other people did as well. But the drag scene, as you say, it has its problems. There, you go back however many years and your drag queens doing all sorts of things that are all sorts of offensive all the time. And what the key thing that was great about that conversation was we saw that Hannah was doing exactly what we were talking about, listening and learning. And I've watched drag scenes at the moment, the Brisbane drag scene I've watched become so beautifully diverse, accepting, aware, and the steps and all of those things that you talk about, that we don't really see. I see that happening in our drag scene up here so often. So I think we're moving forward, and I'm loving watching it, and I'm loving learning from it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a matter of trying to have that pendulum sort of meet in the middle, rather it being so far over to the left and everyone's like, nope, you can't do that, that's racist. Nope, you can't do that, it's cultural appropriation. It's sort of really realizing and really shedding light on the real racism and the real problematic stuff that is actually happening in the world right now, and really targeting that. I think as a community, especially in now, I like to call it the alphabet mafia. I think we spend too much time coming after one another, and it's like, why? We have homophobes for that. Why come after each other so much? So
unity is what we need.
Unity is what we need. And also, if we look back, the last case of actual blackface on television, on public television, was 2015, 16. So, it's
big steps, still big steps to go.
Absolutely.
Wow. That has been a very good conversation. Love talking the deep stuff. And we could sit here and talk for hours, but you have got to go and do a million more interviews. So I want to get onto a few more Drag Race things. But thank you so much for holding that conversation with me. I really, really appreciate it. So when I get onto the show, we got there, you had the challenge, did not go so well. And boom, you and Beverley straight up out the gate in the bottom. After we saw that very big breakdown from Beverley in the Untucked room. Were you sure there was the two of you going in there, or did you think that somebody else should have been the bottom two?
Also, she stole my moment.
I was going to ask that actually, because just in the edit, it looked like you were about to have this is my I'm very sad moment, and then it was like, oh shit, Beverley's on the ground.
My god, that didn't get seen.
That's what it kind of looked like. You're about to have the moment, and it was just like, oh, Beverley's crying. There wasn't like a big, oh, you stole my moment drama.
Fuck.
Did you have a tanty? Did you have a tanty about that?
I didn't have a tanty, but I broke down. I was hysterically sobbing, which I don't know how we wanted to see on camera, because I'm an ugly crier. So, and then Beverley comes over and she starts breaking down. I was like, I said to her after it, I was like, fuck you, that was my moment.
We definitely got to see your sads. We got to see you having the sads, but we definitely got Beverley.
Beverley had a big old breakdown. I was like, yeah, I get it, because we were both safe bottom.
Yeah.
So
hard fall to have.
Yeah, real hard fall. And like, I don't know, it was sort of just like, at that point in time, it was sort of like, why are we here? What are we doing?
Do you think somebody else should have been in the bottom instead of you two?
No.
Fair enough. No.
It was pretty fair. We sucked.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, then you went on to you made up for it, both of you, by going out of that final lip sync. That was pretty fucking stellar. There was a moment there, I actually thought that she almost knocked you off your feet, where she did the splits and you were like right behind her, and I thought, shit, she's going to go down.
No. Yeah, it was very intense. I don't remember it at all, and I haven't seen it yet. So, because when you're in that moment, you're just like fucking balls to the wall, focused and trying to just do your shit. But then I remember seeing her slide down. So I was like, oh, okay. I was like trying to, take the piss and just being like, oh, we're all doing it. And then I saw her like do the splits, and I was like, oh, fuck you. This big old thick bitch can do the splits too. So I don't know what was seen or whatever, but yeah. And then you're standing there and you're waiting for the deliberation to happen, which I will say takes a lot longer than what you see.
I can imagine.
Which I hope was a good thing. No one could make their mind up. And for a moment there, I was like, oh my God, come on, double save. Like, come on, you've put us both in safe for 2 weeks. Like, come on.
Oh, look,
don't feel dirty like that.
There's a chance. You do the numbers. There's 8 episodes. There's 10 queens. And if we have a final 4, then something's got to happen. Do the maths. So there could be a double save somewhere.
So, I mean, like, I think it's a question for you. I mean, who are you anticipating?
Look, I didn't know. And I said this last week as well with Aubrey. I didn't know with this one as well. So it was tough. You were very different. You were both very strong. It was a great lip sync to watch. I kind of felt from the energy we're getting from Beverley outside of the show, Beverly's giving off some BDE, some big Final Four energy. Like, she's very confident that she's done well in this show. Based on that, I would have thought that she was still continuing. Based on the lip sync, I was like, I don't know, it's anyone's game. I'm finding it hard to pick them.
Yeah, I think, honestly, going into it, I thought, I think you start by episode 3, I was like, that was when I was sort of really getting into like my storyline, I think. And I think I got too much in my head about, relying on my storyline and being like, I, have this message that I want to share with people and get this out and blah, blah, blah. And people are going to want to see it and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you've got to remember that the fans don't control the show. It's not a matter of that. The final, at the end of the day, as Ru says, the final decision is hers. So
there's a big old man in a dress sitting up there waiting to tell you who goes home.
Yeah, legit. So,
well, look, I'm going to have to wrap it up in a second, but I do want to know before we go, who is going to be your Snatch Game character?
Kim Woodburn or Marjorie Dawes.
Okay. I'm the worst person because I had to do this with Fofo as well. Kim Woodburn and
Marjorie Dawes.
Okay, I know the name could be Kim Woodburn, but I can't remember for the life of me. Give me a refresher.
Kim Woodburn is the lady from How Clean Is Your House? Like, hello, my love.
Oh, I know that voice, but I haven't seen the show for the life of me.
And Marjorie Dawes from Little Britain, Fat Fighters.
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay, give me your Fat Fighters one. Give me the impression.
I can't because I'm losing my voice.
Damn. All right.
I know. Well, maybe you'll just have to wait and see.
That would have been a good one. It's like some dust. Well, look, I have had an absolute ball having a chat with you. It has been my pleasure. What is going to be next for you before we wrap up?
I've got so much in the pipeline. I've got so many things coming out and really fun, exciting things too. So really can't wait to release them. And, plenty of tours, plenty of things. I'll be in different states, different cities, different countries. So, just
you'll be everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Keep your eyes peeled. Watch this space.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for you. You'll also be on the RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under tour with seasons 1 and 2, which we're kicking off later in the year. So thank you very, very much for joining me, Pomara Fifth.
Thank you very much.
As always, for everybody else, stay tuned next week for our next RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under Season 2 exit interview. Be sure to click all of the buttons, subscribe, and stay tuned to look at all of the queens. Go and follow Pomara on social media, and me and everybody else. I will see you next week. My name is Michael James for Q News. Have a great day.
Woo!